There are so many different things that you can be doing to augment and uplift your health here in hell. And it is such a disappointment. It genuinely is disappointing to see the public so unaware of this. People have been duped into thinking that the primary route to getting healthy and staying healthy is following the systems model. And the systems model, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion at least, is highly flawed. I followed the systems model the majority of my life. I know the results that it produces. I've seen a handful of people, loved ones, friends, their families, etc., follow the systems model, and I've watched them get nothing from it, to be honest. I've also seen some of those people who followed the systems model get off of that model and adopt a more naturalistic way of living or approaching health, and I've seen them benefit greatly. Someone that I knew quite well a few years ago had a serious heart issue, and this particular individual made some drastic dietary alterations, took some specific supplements that I had her take or suggested, and she was willing to do it. Some sleep stuff was rearranged, some lighting, and this particular individual's heart issue disappeared. Now, I can't say cure because that's not apparently legal, but I can say that the heart issue went away, and this was a very life-threatening issue. I've seen time and time again people's chronic problems go away from making simple changes, from getting rid of certain pharmaceuticals, getting off of them, the statins, the cholesterol drugs, the high blood pressure drugs, you name it. It's just time and time again. I've seen people fix serious issues with coenzyme Q10, with magnesium. I've seen depression problems eradicated with the use of vitamin B3, also known as niacin, as well as vitamin D, as well as vitamin C. A lot of people don't know that vitamin C actually has anxiolytic properties. Vitamin C can drastically reduce the anxiety load in some people. I'm not saying it's always the case, but I've seen it time and time again. Now, the point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that the systems model, more often than not, gets people into a lot of trouble. I'm not saying that the entire model, Western medicine and mainstream dieting and all these doctor shows, I'm not saying that all of that is bad. But I am, however, saying that I've seen a lot of suffering caused from the mainstream model of health. Going to the doctor all the time and getting the checkups and getting put on the unnecessary drugs and just all the fear that comes with that, and the constant neurosis of wondering, do I have cancer? Oh, grandma had it, and just all this bullshit. I've seen so many people get into such trouble with that crap, and I've seen a lot of those people get themselves back on track by saying, you know what, I'm going to be my own physician. I'm going to take my health into my own hands. I'm going to take the supplements. I'm going to get the minerals back into my system. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to get a little bit more exercise. I'm going to clean my skin and get more sun. Simple changes, more often than not, produce the biggest results, ladies and gentlemen. And, simple changes. Changing your diet is not that hard. Regardless of what everybody wants to tell you, oh, it's so difficult. No, you need this, you need that. Oh, you've got to, it's so hard to stop eating all these foods and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know why? Because you sympathize with your addiction. We've lost our ability to just snap our fingers and make changes and follow through with them. We all want to change, but more often than not, we don't know how to put it into practice. at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot more control over your habits and what you do with your time than you probably think. At the end of the day, you could literally snap your fingers and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it into action, and you can actually create that reality. But more often than not, it's kind of like loading the jump program. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the first Matrix film. Sometimes it's hard to make that jump for the first time. Oftentimes it takes failure and repetition of failure before you go, okay, now I can do it. But I'm here to tell you that you can snap your fingers and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make this change, I'm going to get my life in order, and you can actually follow through with that. We do, however, live in a broken reality, and most of us were never taught that we have that much power, and because of that, we are still on our training wheels. So, but again, this idea that changing your life and eating healthier is difficult, what the hell is that? That is if there ever was a demonic thinking process or a demon, that would be a demon. Something that inspires you to sympathize with, oh, it's difficult to get healthy. What's difficult about becoming more vibrant? What's difficult about elongating your lifespan by getting rid of all the chemical additives and the crap? And I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place for these things, ladies and gentlemen. You can still eat a little bit of junk food. You can still pack on a few pounds here and there. I know I have during this lockdown. But I know how to lose it. I know how to get back on track immediately. And I'm currently in that process. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I am, however, saying that in the last 12 years of me significantly altering my diet, doing all sorts of stuff with my body and my health and my mind, I'm here to tell you that you can make drastic changes like that with a snap of a finger. And I've done them time and time again. I'm living proof that it can be done. And there's a ton of other people doing it as well. I can't change my ways. I'm so addicted to the sweets and blah, 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 blah. No, you're addicted to being way too tolerant with the things in your life that are out of balance. You should go through your entire home if you're addicted to bad foods and get rid of every single one of them. And as you transition, give yourself a little bit of that junk. So don't get rid of all of them, but maybe make, it's getting healthier for the average American, ladies and gentlemen. All it requires you to do is just consume 75% of your calories from whole food sources. That one thing is going to create drastic outcomes. Now, that's not the ideal and perfect way of living because you want it to be more towards 100% whole foods. But even if the average American just consumes 75% of their calories from whole foods, there would be a drastic alteration, ladies and gentlemen, in health across the world, in the United States especially. And I say the United States not only because I live here, but because we're one of the sickest nations in this dimension. Yet we spend all this money on healthcare. It's an absolute joke. We've got all these doctors and experts and intellectuals and PhDs and MDs and all these scientists and all this nonsense, but somehow, some way, regardless of how advanced we are, we can't even get our health right. This is proof that we're living in an out-of-balance world, ladies and gentlemen. But you do not have to take on the mass configuration of the masses and be like them. You can be an anomaly in the matrix, and you can work on your health and achieve great states of vibrant health, folks. But again, whole foods are foods that grow from the earth, that haven't been mixed with a bunch of chemical additives, you name it. So the average American, again, 75% of if 75% of their diet was whole foods, wow, there would be a huge reduction in symptoms, high blood pressure, cholesterol problems. All of these, ladies and gentlemen, all of these issues are directly linked to the diet. But what ends up happening is people end up eating garbage their whole life, and then they get symptoms. Their health starts to degrade, and then they go to the doctor to have those symptoms checked, and then more often than not, the symptoms come back as, oh, you have such and such, and here's a pill for such and such. So here, instead of changing the diet that caused the high blood pressure, instead of taking herbs that reduce hypertension or supplements, of which there are many, Let's just give you this pill that artificially reduces your high blood pressure. That doesn't fix the problem, ladies and gentlemen. What ends up happening is your house is pretty much still burning down. You just don't feel it. Your body doesn't sense the load. I hope that makes sense. And with drugs like statins, ladies and gentlemen, these cholesterol drugs, more and more research is coming out showing that these are highly dangerous. So the American public is so dumbed down that they can't even put two and two together and realize that 90% of their symptoms come from what they eat, their lifestyles, the blue light that they're exposed to, and how it messes up their neurotransmitters, their melatonin, their prolactin, their rest cycles. The average person can't put two and two together and realize that the water they drink is filled full of chemical additives that are destroying their gut microbiome with all the chlorine, chloramine compounds, disinfectant byproducts, algicides, cobalts, radioactive constituents, hexafluorosilicic acid, hydrofluorosilicic acid, fluorine compounds, runoff, inorganic calcium and lime, and inorganic minerals that make you stiffer than a fucking rock. The average person doesn't ever suspect that maybe the electromagnetics in their home are destroying their health. They just think that, oh, poor me, this must be genetic and I need to go to my doctor and, oh, there's a pill for me. This is an insane system that we're living in, folks. And I hate to say it, but the people that I've seen that live the longest, they avoid the doctors. They avoid the doctors, hun. Excuse me, I was responding to my wife and I said, hun. Give me 1 second, guys. So, I mean, if you think that constant medical neurosis is the key to health and going to get a pill for every symptom that you have, if you think that that's the key to health, then go for it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who do that. And the people who do that, ladies and gentlemen, they're the ones making up the statistics on bad health. So regardless of all the hypertension drugs that have been pushed on the public, regardless of all the cholesterol drugs, regardless of all of the antidepressants and all yada, 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 there is still more sickness now than there ever was, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look back into yesteryear, before the Industrial Revolution, and let's look at people's health back then. People were more vibrant, they were healthier, they were stronger. Before all these chemical additives came into the picture, before all the blue light, before all of this shit. The electromagnetics. People used to be much healthier. There used to be hardly any autism across the board, ladies and gentlemen. Cancer statistics were nowhere near what they are now. Diabetes, heart disease, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry. This type of stuff was nowhere near as prevalent as it is now. So ask yourself, what's really going on here? Because we have more doctors now, we have more intellectuals, we have more, quote unquote, again, the scientists and the experts and blah, blah, blah. Yet there's more sickness now than there ever was. So I'm at the point where I'd go to a witch doctor or a shaman long before I ever went to an MD. Now, that's just my opinion, and I have my right to say that protected under freedom of speech. I like to think or believe that still exists. So, this is a crazy time, ladies and gentlemen. The world is out of alignment. The world is clearly out of alignment. And we are participating in the lack of alignment by willingly putting ourselves out of alignment, by destroying our health. So it's much more than just what you eat. It's also the invisible pollution, ladies and gentlemen, from the electromagnetics, all the Wi-Fi, all the wireless networks everywhere. That's a huge assault. The lighting is a huge assault. So, I mean, I look back into the mid-90s at how much more simple life was. Compared to now here in 2020, we're almost here in 2021? the lighting has been highly weaponized. Even if you go and look at Christmas lights, which I always do, it's a tradition of mine. I went around looking at Christmas lights the last 3 years, and I always came back just going, God, it just doesn't feel the same. Do you guys remember in the mid-90s when most of the lights were like those old-fashioned Christmas lights? I don't know if you guys can hear me breathing. I'm a little stuffed up. My nose is, so bear with me. Nowadays, you go look at Christmas lights and you're hit with the LEDs. You're hit with just unnaturally saturated lights that it's insane. Excuse me. Now, if you take just Christmas lights alone have changed drastically. They almost look like they don't even have the same feel that they used to have in the mid-90s. But now you go into a room with a television and look at the light coming from a modern television. It's insane how much blue light and unnatural wavelengths are coming, unnaturally high wavelengths of light are coming off these televisions. They bedazzle people. And they destroy your ability to get good rest. And most people watch TV when the sun goes down, or there's a lot more. I would imagine more people watch TV when the sun starts going down because people are getting home from work, you name it. So you know, the sun goes down, you're not supposed to be inundated with all these lights. But when the sun goes down here in the Matrix, people turn their televisions on. You absorb light in unnaturally large amounts. It goes into your photoreceptors, the blue light from the televisions and the LEDs and the smartphones and the tablets and all the other garbage people use. And it tells your brain that it's the wrong time of day. This is called endless summer syndrome. Read T.S. Wiley's book, Lights Out, Sleep, Sugar, and Survival for more information on this phenomenon. This causes you, over time, to have an internal sundial that's completely out of alignment. Your melatonin, your hormones, everything becomes out of alignment. Your biological processes follow a out-of-balance circadian rhythm. This, because the light stays on way too long, this again leads to something known as endless summer syndrome. So the blue light from the devices goes into your photoreceptors and triggers certain processes that are similar to processes that are triggered from when sunlight hits your skin and your eyes. This suppresses melatonin production. This is a very complicated thing. This is what happens when you don't shield yourself from blue light when the sun goes down. You're telling your brain that it's the wrong time of day. This leads to endless summer syndrome, which destroys your circadian rhythm by way of readjusting your internal sundial. Because our circadian rhythm is supposed to be intimately connected to the changing of the seasons and the light, you name it. It's a very complicated process. We are like a sundial of sorts. And all of our functions, our physiological functions, react to the lighting systems of Earth. But the constant light exposure leads to something known as endless summer syndrome, and this causes you to crave processed foods, sugar, carbohydrates, etc., because your body instinctively believes that winter's coming and you need to pack on fat. I hope that makes sense. But this is just one of multiple pieces to this grand puzzle, the lighting. You are in the Matrix, but you've been so desensitized from actually being able to feel anything that you're not even aware of the constant assault that's coming at you from all fronts. You do not feel anything anymore. You are numb. Your metaphysical antennas do not work any longer. And until you experience Kundalini, until you wake up your Merkaba, until you start to stimulate the meridians in your body, you will be separated from your higher thinking processes, which cause you to actually be able to feel the way that you were designed to feel. Because let me tell you, most of the people that I've talked to, if they were able to actually use the full capacity of their senses, they would be driven insane by all of the stimulation that's coming at them from all angles. The lighting, the food, the water. You see, the Matrix installs this weird program in your subconscious where it shuts you off from your higher thinking processes, and it makes life here in hell tolerable. And this is why so many people are comfortable here in the underworld. They don't feel anything. This is a very complicated thing to explain, and it's one of the mechanisms that the Matrix uses to separate people from their higher thinking and turn them into a fallen creature or a fallen angel, a zombie. Someone's ego, more often than not, is directly proportionate, the size of their ego, to how comfortable they are here in this world. This is a hell realm, ladies and gentlemen. You're not supposed to just be comfortable here. Now, that may sound a little pessimistic, but if you're not a little anxious, if you're not freaking out just a little bit, there's probably something wrong. What are you talking about, Sacred Serpent? I'm comfortable all the time. I meditate for 2 hours a day, bro. Yeah, man, I'm cool, bro. That's fine. But I think a lot of people who think like that haven't gone as deep, maybe, as I have and seen the things that I've seen. Now, I don't live over here in fear, but I'm aware of the fact that I have an enemy. And I try to stay 2 steps ahead of my enemy by being aware of what it does. And I've poked my head into places that the average person will never poke their head into, including the people who, I just meditate, bro, my fruit juice keeps me enlightened, blah, blah, blah. So until you poke your head into the abyss, you'll never know what's in there. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that there is an evil system here that is trying to destroy the proper evolution of the human genome. It wants to shut us off from the Kundalini energy. It wants us to be plugged into an artificial intelligence hive mind. It wants us to never transcend out of the hell realm and back into the heaven realm. We were designed to be an angel. It's shutting your chakras off in your energy field right now as we speak, as you listen to me. And it's sucking the energy out of your chakras. It's using you as a battery, just like in the Matrix film. Remember Neo? He was plugged into that pod, and he had all those pods, or those things plugged into his spine. The same thing is happening to you on a level 10,000-fold more terrifying than in the Matrix. Your energy is being fed on by an interdimensional succubus incubus that I like to call the Archon, of which the Gnostic Christians referred to this entity as Yaldabaoth, or the Greeks referred to this entity as Cosmocrator. And this entity has posed as God for hundreds of years. And now people are worshiping an entity that is destroying humanity. It's a long, complicated subject, ladies and gentlemen. This entity is a lot like, but not completely, it's a lot like the architect from the Matrix film. What do you think the Matrix was about? The Matrix was about taking or eating the apple of Eden. Morpheus was the serpent. Trinity was Eve, who led Adam, who was Neo, to the serpent, who was Morpheus. And then Morpheus, or the serpent, offered Neo the apple of Eden, which was the red pill. And when he took the red pill, he knew right from wrong, good from evil. And suddenly, that old system that he was plugged into became his enemy. He was kicked out of the garden, the artificial simulation world where you're connected to 0% of your potential. So my message, I follow Christ, but the average individual who hears my message probably thinks I'm a heretic because I exalt the serpent and believe that the serpent was the good guy in the garden. Just like Prometheus stole fire from the gods to give to humanity. The modern Christian drivel that people follow is a highly polluted, diluted, and rearranged doctrine from a much earlier doctrine that was more in alignment with the truth. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you have the ability to transcend this world. You have the ability to walk through the fire unscathed, ladies and gentlemen. You have the ability to not have to have all these fucking strange-ass symptoms and diseases that everybody has out here. You have the ability to regulate what it is you put onto your body, into your body, around your body. What I mean by that is all the EMF and all the crap, the garbage. That is a frequency warfare, ladies and gentlemen, and people will never truly understand the ramifications of all this 5G and 4G and all this nonsense until they realize that they have an aura, these subtle layers of energy around them that are affected by these frequencies. Why do you think there's a cell phone tower with about 1 million different cells on it, microcells I believe they're called, those panels, on every single street corner pretty much? I don't mean that literally, but my God, I'm at a parking lot right now, and there's a school about 400 yards away, and I can see 2 cell phone towers right now near the school. This is a frequency warfare, ladies and gentlemen. If you knew what you were designed to be able to experience, you would not be falling short for all this crap. But why should people care? People are more concerned, ladies and gentlemen, with what they're going to wear to the bar. People are more concerned with fitting in with the crowd, even though the crowd, they're completely rearranged, genetically engineered zombies in a fallen state, completely disconnected from their higher minds. People are more concerned with fitting in with people like that because we have like a hive mind mentality. We all want to fit in. We all want to be cool. More people are more concerned with the rims on their vehicle than supporting their bones with the right constituents, or, clearing their liver of years worth of garbage junk. People don't care, and we know this statistically. Stop projecting your goodness onto humanity. People say all the time, it's all about love, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, it is about love. But love, ladies and gentlemen, is not about tolerating things that bring people misfortune. You ever heard of tough love? Tough love is the epitome of love. Tough love is someone saying no. Tough love is someone showing you the right way to do things, even though it temporarily makes you feel kind of bad. Tough love is when a father sets his child right, even though it might affect the child in the immediate moment. It might go against the child's belief systems, but when a parent knows what's right, he doesn't just tolerate the child going against what's right. The parent knows what's best for the child. I'm not saying here in the Matrix they do, because more often than not, parents don't even know how to take care of themselves, yet they're having babies. I think you catch my drift, though. We have got to snap out of this hypnosis, and it starts with you taking care of your body. It starts with you taking care of your mind. It starts with you giving a fuck. Regulating intake is so absolutely important. Getting your vitamin C levels up, especially as we move through flu season. So simple. $10. That's all it takes. Now, you could buy a pack of cigarettes for $10 here in California. Or you can go to your average drugstore and buy some simple ascorbic acid. Or you can spend a little bit more and get yourself some Whole Foods vitamin C. Whole Foods vitamin C is vitamin C that comes from natural things like acerola cherry and camu camu and catacu plum. Now, I'm a big fan of ascorbic acid after researching the works of Abram Hoffer and Linus Pauling. I like Whole Foods vitamin C as well. But I just got a brand new thing of vitamin C from the store, from Costco. It was like $10.99. Ascorbic acid with a bioflavonoid complex mixed into it. 500 tablets, I think it was. It might have even been 1,000 tablets. And they were each a gram each. That's a perfect dose. 1 to 3 grams, in my opinion. I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm telling you what works for me and what continues to work for me. So, we've got to snap out of this garbage. $10 can get you a bottle of magnesium. $10 could also get you a fifth of vodka. See where I'm going with this? $100 could get you a new pair of shoes, even though you might not need that pair of shoes. Or $100 could get you an entire regimen. You could get a pound of Shazandra. You could get the vitamin D that I talk about in my Flu Shield video. You could get the vitamin D. You could get the zinc. You could get the vitamin C. My God, the Costco had vitamin D3, the cholecalciferol version, for $5.99. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily the best vitamins, but my God, they work. I've seen them work on people. I've seen some of the cheapest vitamins from the cheapest stores fix people's issues. Enough's enough. I've got to have the best. I've got to have the $70 bottle of vitamin D and all this stuff. No, you don't. You don't have to have all these fancy things. Put the wheels in motion, ladies and gentlemen. God has this weird affinity to put all of the answers around you constantly. And more often than not, they're the cheapest things ever, but you don't even see it. So on your walk to the pharmacy to get your high blood pressure medication, there's probably an aisle that has magnesium. Maybe it has some carnitine. There's probably a handful of constituents on your way to pick up the pharmaceutical. There's probably a handful of supplements there that you could use in conjunction with dietary alterations and hydration. There's things that you could use there to fix your problem naturally. See what I'm saying? God, more often than not, plasters solutions around you. My God, I'm sitting in a parking lot right now, you guys, and there are a handful of things growing around me. Trees, bushes. And I know a handful of these particular bushes, they have what's growing on them, it has medicinal properties. So do you see what I'm saying? You could be in your car freaking out on the phone with someone because you just got a diagnosis. And if you really looked around and calmed down, because you should always stay calm. There might be things around you that directly are, beneficial for your condition. You've got to look. People don't see things, they look at things. There's a huge difference. Don Juan Matus, the Yaqui Indian sorcerer that teaches Carlos Castaneda throughout his books, talks about this. There's a huge difference between looking at something and seeing it. When you see things, you see the full picture. When you look at things, you see a tiny little fraction. Peter Glidden, a naturopathic doctor who was taught under the wing of Joel Wallach, once said that medical doctors are like colorblind art critiques. They only see the black and white structures. They don't see everything in between all the colors. That's a perfect example of the difference between looking at something and seeing something. When you see, you see the full picture. When you look, you only see isolated structures. So I love you all. I'm going to wrap this episode up. I'm not going to go much further. I'm just going to wrap this one up by saying you have the potential to change everything about your life. It starts now. You got to learn to snap your fingers and change things. That's real magic. Real magic is you going, okay, I need to do this, that, and the other. And boom, I'm going to put it into action. And now I'm going to do it. We'll talk more about this in the near future. I love you all. Peace be with you. I wanted to personally thank you for watching my videos and contributing to the growth of my channel. I could not do this without you, and your interest in my content is truly what motivates me and fuels my passion for making these videos and spreading my message. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to remind you that this channel is a free educational tool that is listener supported, and if you would like to donate to my channel and donate to my cause, help make my life a little bit easier and help keep the lights on around here, you can do so by checking out the links in the description box below. There's a handful of not only ways to donate to my channel, but I also have links to different websites and different videos of mine, as well as my Amazon store, where you can check out a plethora of different health-related products that I use and recommend. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your continued interest in my message, and until next time, peace be with you all.